So the first step in cleaning your canister filter is you got to disconnect the power, so we'll do that now. So this part's pretty easy. Basically you just lift this knob here. Okay, that stops the flow of water. And then there's a locking mechanism underneath, so you have to turn that all the way up to the top and then flip that to the left. After you do that, the water is actually stopped and you've got your plug unplugged still, so that the motor's not running. At that point, now this is kind of the tricky part, the water is stopped, but sometimes these things stick a little bit, so you actually have to sort of pry it without pulling off your tubes or damaging your thing. So it just takes a little muscle grease to get it off. And after, when we do get it off, what I'll do is I'll put a little bit more silicone around it, see, like that, and a little bit of water drips out. Nothing too bad. So that's it basically. So now we're on to cleaning. So here's the Marineland canister filter that we brought on from upstairs. This is my laundry room, and this is where I do all my water changes. I'm going to show you some of the tools that we use, or tools that I use for doing the water changes. Just some tips. You guys might find it helpful. Okay, so first step is to I usually use the wash basin here and actually open up the canister. So you just pull these two tabs like that, and as well as these two tabs, and they come off. That's the locking mechanism. And then you just use these two tabs and actually prise up the canister like that. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the water from the filter. Your bacteria needs to stay in water, and preferably water that's not chlorinated, so you don't want to use tap water for sure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up my t-shirt and use the clips and pour it into this bucket. With Biomedia, we just take the top off. I usually just set that in here. And this is the Biomedia. I'm using an Eheim Substrate Pro as my Biomedia. I changed out the Marineland Bio Balls. I found they weren't working very well. But this Substrate Pro is a really good product. So pick that up if you're using Marineland canister, or any canister really. See, water is fairly clean. Now let's run through the t-shirt. So we just pour that back into this other bucket where the biological media is. And we'll actually just run that through and sort of clean off the media a little bit. going to pour the rest of the water in. We're going to filter that through, and then we'll filter the water from the biological media as well. So we're just going to get to the next step here. I basically just rinse everything off. I know a lot of people say don't rinse out, you know, you'll kill all the good bacteria, whatever. Well, I'm actually changing my filter bag this time. This bag's a little old. So I'm actually just going to toss this completely and get a new bag and start over. So the next step is the hard filter media, and that actually blocks out a lot of the big stuff that comes in. And we're just going to give our bottom of this thing a quick rinse. Don't need to do too much, just a quick rinse. So with the canister filters, you have to, there's this little notch in the top left there. That's for the filter stem hole to go. And that's where the water comes up from. So the water, well actually the water goes down the tube from the top. So it's filtered, the dirty water goes to the bottom and comes through these grates, okay, and comes up through the filter. So you gotta make sure you line these up, otherwise things won't work in the canister. So put the filters back in, make sure to get the notch correctly. Now I know there's notches for the, I don't know if you can see that too well, but there's notches here for these handle notches, so you gotta get those right. So if you flip it that way, it's not the right way. If you flip it this way, it'll work. It goes in. Okay, comes around, make sure no bypass. Bypass basically means make sure there's no groove where it's sticking out that the water can get through without going through the filter. Okay. Now when you're putting it back in the canister, there's these arrows on either side. There's one here, one here. Match those up to the arrows on here. Pretty straightforward. Okay. And you just got to make sure that your filter stem goes the same way as you're replacing your media. Pour some of that water back in, saturate the bottom there. This is the main pump head. There's a gasket here that fits into this hole here, which is the intake pipe. But in the center here, the actual impeller sits, and you just turn that. Now sometimes this can get clogged up with a bunch of stuff, so you actually have to take this out. Be careful. There's little parts in there, and there's a spindle. Okay. So we take that out, set that there. We'll clean that off. We'll clean this off. Okay, this is the magnetic impeller. So this is what drives the water pressure inside. Now it's magnetically controlled, which means there's no actually part touching this like in a normal motor. The magnet from the inside of the actual pump assembly will actually turn this magnetically. Okay, just to show you the impeller again. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You know, it's got a magnet at the top. Okay, and this is the head, and then the spindle here. And they have these actual rubber stoppers on each end. Well, there's actually one inside there that I didn't actually get out, but you should clean those off too. So you got to keep this clean and stuff. So we'll just give this a rinse off. You should just kind of twist it a little bit in until it pops into place. And then it's in like that. And now I just put the cap, and this just kind of sits in there and turns like that and locks into place. One last thing I was going to show you. Over time, this rubber gasket can actually get worn. So what we need to do, or what you need to actually buy and do, I recommend doing, is getting some silicone. And I recommend doing this, you know, every once in a while when it needs it. You don't need a lot. And we're just going to put this back on. Okay. So you spread these out, just gently press this down. Okay, it goes back into place. There's no gaps all the way around. Fine. Okay, and then you just press these in. You put your clamps like this. Just go on here, back on there. And then what we do is we're going to do a little bit of cleanup, and we'll bring this back to the fish tank.